All right. Who is here from Hmong Tea? Who wants Hmong Tea? If you're here from Hmong Tea, this might not be the place for you, but welcome. It's late at night. It is almost midnight on the West Coast. If you're here, you're crazy. If you're here and you're in the Midwest and you're really crazy, and if you're here and you're on the East Coast, then you're really, really crazy. I can't tell there's a lag. It looks like there might be a little bit of lag. My internet might be a little bit slow, but I apologize. But those that are here, yes. Dua, thanks for coming here today. Hmong always supporting Hmongoose and many other Hmong organizations. Chris Chase grabbing the popcorn. There is Hmong tea, but it's a different type of tea. I don't serve that type of tea here. If you want Hmong tea, then you have to go to Facebook and look up Hmong tea. And so Long is asking, what did she say? What did she say? And that's what we're really here to talk about tonight. And so let's hear the tea tonight. If you don't know what the tea is about, then I'm here to talk about the tea, and I'll tell you exactly why I'm here to talk about the tea. If you're here, then I might as well tell you. Here's the reality. If you want to understand an issue, then you have to have a lengthy discussion about it. If you want to simplify the world, then you can have that, but you will have a very shallow understanding. And so tonight, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the issue because I'm not seeing other artists talk about it. They are talking about it, kind of, and we'll evaluate it. Uh, and you'll see how I approach things. Straight off, being very transparent. I do not personally know Jami. I've only spoken to her one time, and it was a very short discussion at the Las Las Vegas Valentine's Gala. That's the only time I spoke to her. I said hello behind in the back. So I have no vested interest in this at all. I'm saying this because I'm being completely transparent, nor am I afraid to say it. That being said, when I started Hmongoose, I told myself that I would never get into hot topics. Lo and behold, huge hot topic. But I was talking to my wife, and my wife said, "Long, you should really say something about this, um, because you've been in the business so long." And so we'll talk about it, and I'll give you my input unadulterated. If you're here watching, I value you very much for being here. If you are an artist, or if you are a person that wants to talk about the issue, um, if you're familiar with Mongoose Live, then I'm not interested in just giving you an opinion. You feel free to join me and talk. I have no problem with that. I'm trying to create a community with Mongoose here, a platform for people to talk. And so we'll do that. So if you want to come up and talk and you're brave enough, especially an artist, then then message me on Facebook, send you the link. And as always, you're more than welcome to say something on camera, knowing that it's live and it will be recorded and it probably will be shared with a lot of people. So thank you for being here. Nhớ rằng cho nhớ song song hơn hai nhớ rằng nên nên tôi từ tôi ba khi đó biết ta xin nó lúa chay nó chỉ tát tổ lúa chay 我就朋友在讲就决定下到睇见不好睇就老做 they're waking up. It's their morning. It's our evening, and so they're joining here. Thought to hear what we unjay the mona we hand out your lumeka so that she you the name to suck or halumona. Ye ne to show lumon to go. They show lumon to go. You could date on a lumon. You ne show the good lumeka. They could both have been out. You ne short in gia here. No, you pong you meka momika. They could date mekanda. So, however you want me to talk, write that to me. Ken, how are you? Ken is a local artist from Stockton. Alex, welcome for joining me here. Everyone is here for the Hmong tea. I don't serve Hmong tea. I serve Hmongoose tea. It's of a different flavor. It makes you feel more content, in my opinion. Ken, what's up, Alex? Go ahead. We want to hear. Absolutely. I'll be right there in one sec. Caitlin. Hey, Caitlin, how are you? Sending love. Thank you. Caitlin, another emerging artist. I met her through the organization Rise. Nyojong brother long. So I don't know why that she if it's showing as Facebook user, that's because there's some type of communication error going on. And the Facebook user, the Facebook need to recognize no need toบอกก็ลงไปนะเดี๋ยวก็ถอด pass show ก็ลงไปตัวกูได้保的ก็有 LinkedIn นะ okay. All right. So, Pal, please share. I know you and I talked about this before very much. Hello from Alaska. Tong, how are you? This is interesting. Okay, you cannot move to Michigan. Moving to Michigan, got to hang out, have lunch. No, I need to come and see your guitars first. Do not leave to Michigan without me seeing your guitars. Ken, I'm good. Hope you're doing well. Tong, you moving what? I know. Okay, so people are talking about Chunon. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. I hope that everything Rise is going well. Jesus, how are you? Jesus leaves to work early. I know that every morning. Saying hey long. So there's a lot of people saying things. I'll let you guys see it. We've got Joe here too. Joe from Canada, Sun Rush. So Sun Rush is joining here. So if any of you have the gall to want to talk with me live, and we can discuss it live. I'm not here to just give you my opinion. We're here to share an opinion. Vasengva, okay, very good, from Alaska. My understanding, if I have the right person in mind. So CDC, longtime fan here and supporter. Nice to see you. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so people are just saying hello to each other. That's great. You can see the comments. So can I. So let's get this straight out. This is how I see the issue. I am not this is it's an extremely hot topic. Let me see once here. Yeah. So this is an extremely hot topic. and I want to get it right. I want to do it justice. I'm seeing threads and threads of comments being shared. We might even look at them tonight. Um, but I think it's really important that we get the issue right. And so, in order to get the issue right, we had to look at the proper context. So, let's start first of all. Okay, for those who don't know, who is Mongoose? Okay, why is he talking so much, and why does he think that he has any relevance to be talking about this issue? So, let's do a proper introduction. Uh, uh, I'll tell you exactly who I am, and then you can assess if you want to hear my opinion or not. If you don't, then you can turn off the computer. No worries, no concern. So my name is Long Bei Lao. Is enjoy Long Ho. I am from Fresno, California. I started playing music when I was about 13. When I was about 14, I was recruited to play in the band Paradise. I played in Paradise. Um, Paradise has its period of off and on, but I was a part of Paradise up until I would say 2020, where I decided that I had to part ways and begin my own journey with myself and my family, and thus I created Hmongoose. But in the music industry, um, I have a wide, uh, very wide, broad spectrum of experience. I was present when the Hmong community moved from doing uh, big, I guess you could say, dance parties to concerts. When I first started music, to give you guys a little bit of context, um, what was happening is that Hmong people were at the phase where we would do concerts. But the concerts that we did were kind of like they were more like parties, but very very specific parties. Not the parties of the '90s. The party of the '80s were different because the bands that would play, what you would commonly see is they would have a book, and what they would commonly do is that they would say, okay, and you want to dedicate a song, then you would stop the music, and then you would pick a song out of this book. You kind of almost like a jukebox, and you could pick the song. You say, okay, Richard Marx right here writing, and then you would give it to the band. Say, okay, someone dedicate to you say, and then the band would come up, and the band would say, okay, Richard Mark, dance, yeah, and then you could do that. Really, kind of like really parties in a different sense. I saw this, but I was never directly involved in it. I came slightly after this. I came in the mid '90s. Mid '90s is the point where we started to transition to parties without that dedication book that lost favor. Um, Say something if you're old enough to collaborate and verify what I'm saying. That no, Long's not lying. That is in fact accurate. Um, and so um, when I joined Paradise, we started to do concert parties. Where we would play music and people would dance to the music. It wasn't a true concert, in my opinion, in the sense that it wasn't a concert we played and people just watched and didn't dance. No, it very much was a dance concert where dancing in front of you. That's how it was. We don't have that anymore. I kind of miss it. A part of me wants that back because it's very memorable for the people on the floor. Let's say that. Um, and then in 2017, Paradise came back, and for the first time, we tried to do an authentic concert. It occurred at the Ag Building, and what we did was we completely removed, if you remember, and you were there, we completely removed the dance floor. No dance floor. The front part turned into a VIP section, and the back was general admission. I do think I can't verify this, but I think that we Paradise was actually the first band to actually do a VIP meet and greet. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right because I can't recall other bands doing that before that I'm aware of. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. I have no problem being corrected. But that is my credential. Probably wrote like 6 albums with Paradise. And I've seen, I've seen the days of selling CDs and having booths. And now the reason why I'm speaking a little bit is because now I'm a content creator. If you follow Mongoose, then you know what I do. I do content, but I do content in a very different way that I have not quite seen others do yet. Let's do a plug really quick. Welcome to Mongoose Live. If you're trickling in here late, then welcome. I'm going to talk about. Some people want me to talk about Hmong tea. Sure, it'll be tea, but it will not be Hmong tea. It'll be Mongoose tea, which tastes significantly different. But if you're here, take one moment to please share and like. If you're not subscribed, there's three ways you're watching this right now. You're either seeing it on my YouTube channel, my Mongoose channel, or my Long Her channel. But if you're watching, please share. Or if you see this tomorrow, welcome to the restream. But please subscribe. And so again, we're getting to the introduction. That's what it is. So now here's the Hmong tea that everyone keeps talking about. But let's jump to chats really quick. Yes, there still is a lot of radio dedications. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Jesus. And Long says, yep, true. Basang says, yes, was still in elementary, so I didn't experience that phase. So the first Hmong band I ever listened to was Voltage, High Voltage. I absolutely loved it. It'd be interesting too. Actually, I like to share my perspective of what happens to Hmong music as I see it, which will be really interesting too. Maybe I should start it off that way. That way people don't hate me right away, so I can show them a little bit of context. I think right now the person that is most qualified to talk about the Hmong music scene, who I think is actively participant and who has been in it the longest, is actually, correct me if I'm wrong, I would say it's Chu KZ. He's been in it for the longest time. He's a KZ band from the 80s, maybe even earlier. But he's still performing. So he could speak to this much more than I can, but he may not be able to speak to it from the young perspective. And I think where I can tread a little bit into where the young people are is that I'm a monetized content creator, so I can share a little bit of input in that regards. And the reason why it's important is because I'm seeing a lot of people share input about monetization, but not all these people are monetized. So I'll share with you some very discrete issues with monetization that even people monetized may not know or may not want to share with you. Because like I said, the only reason why I'm speaking tonight is because I know that there's other artists, but they don't want to speak. They don't they may not feel comfortable or may not be willing to be vulnerable enough to really talk about the issue, which I think warrants a discussion. Hence why I'm here. Also, hence why I think Jami made her comment the way she did. Everyone is waiting for the Hmong tea. I get it. I know you're waiting for the Hmong tea. It's gonna come. The Hmong tea will come. But I'm not gonna serve anyone this hot, awful, bitter, good for nothing tea. I'm gonna actually make it valuable tea. But yes, those are absolutely the good old days. And yeah, absolutely. I'm going to really appreciate you bringing this subject into light. Yes, I'm going to bring it into light and more. I can only share from my perspective. The best people to talk to are the people directly involved. Jami, but Jami has actually been very transparent about it. But you have to read her comments very carefully. And Jami, I apologize if I misrepresent your position and you're watching or you're going to watch later. You say that guy is completely off, then call me out. No problem. I had no. I'm a little older now. I have no problem apologizing to people. Yes, I love your content. Love the dancing days. Young people will not get that experience unless they change their ways about concerts. The dancing days. I cannot describe. If I could show you the videos of the dancing days, and you may. Probably because they're going to say, wow, that was amazing what you guys were doing. Now everyone stands around and yelling at the stage. Absolutely. There's good to that too. Paradise, hard not to say we miss you guys. Yes. Ken, I'm going to give you my view. Here's the thing. If you want my view in 5 minutes, this is not the place. Log out. Goodbye. I may do a summary video. I may not. If you want like a quick to the case answer, not the place. But if you want transparency and you want to really understand the issue, then stick around, because I'm gonna give it to you. But it's like, you can't truly share your opinion without giving it time. And for those who won't give time, then you don't want the real understanding. But those who do want the real understanding will stick around. So stick around if you like. Chỉ bảo lì tháo giặt gì peng peng dài của mà halu mong gìแต่是มอง个他做tu mong itu nalon trả mình sau ít dầu lu 我觉得他么讲的，但是呢还路蒙 yes 还路蒙头着子，古嘛还路蒙邻居听，但是有那上的那古那上路蒙的古，结果还路蒙的是古正系的，么应该就堵了的时候，而且还路蒙的，还路没个。嘅古有全部快地要蒙書，落去要蒙咩㗎，落去蒙 blog 係有冇係書做啊？個說道明寺。I believe you are perfect fit to talk about it. Definitely with your experience, go for it, bro. I will definitely go for it. We're about to get the last comment before we go for it. Asking random girls to dance at Rainbow Ballroom when you saw slow dance come gets performed. Okay, so let's talk this. Let's talk a little bit of history about. Let's talk about Hmong music a little tiny bit. Unless you guys say long, shut up, just get to the T. But I've seen Hmong music phase. When I first started music, the biggest act in the Hmong community was definitely High Voltage. When I was in middle school or 7th, 8th grade, I would listen to their music, very beautiful music. They had a very new wave vibe to them. If you listen to High Voltage, and you know what I'm talking about, they programmed their music and they played their music programmed live. So they didn't have like a band. They had like Long. His name is Long too. Long on a keyboard, and they would play their music out. And then Sounders came out, and Sounders was the first, I think, really prominent live band of that generation. For you to understand the context of Hmong music, it's not just the band. The band does not make the music successful. I give you the argument. I make the argument that it's the management that actually does. And the other day, today or maybe yesterday, Trey Zhong of Oyo Own Your Own Opportunity, he made a comment. He said, basically, I have a 5-point solution to this issue. And he said, it's really great that we're having a discussion. Direct message me if you want to be a part of the solution, more or less. That's what the message was. I've spoken to Trey in depth about this issue. Not recently. It was actually probably about a month or two ago. And it's actually the management. If you understand Hmong music, then people have alluded to it. They've sang said it right here, Rainbow Ballroom. So if you want to understand the politics of Hmong music industry in the 90s, then you must understand Rainbow Ballroom. And it starts with the management. And so Sounders is watching here. They're going to corroborate whether this is accurate or not. But I think that Sounders became popular initially under the management of Atari. So if you know Atari, then you know who I'm talking about. Atari, the videographer, he did great things for Sounders to initiate them and move them forward. And in the 90s, the most successful bands actually, it was their talent, but it was their management, in the sense that first of all, the venues for Hmong concerts in the 90s were limited. You did not have like if you look at the venues now across the states for Hmong community, in the Hmong community, there's so many I can't even count. So many clubs. I mean, you see concert announcements every week. Basically, I mean, there's concerts almost every weekend. It's an artist market at this time, but at that time it wasn't. During the Hmong New Year, there was only one place to be, and that one place was Rainbow Ballroom, where whoever played at Rainbow Ballroom just got famous. And so what happened was, during the 90s, Sounders were very prominent, but there was something that Sounders did that really relinquished their control of Rainbow Ballroom. They let it go. So in Rainbow Ballroom, there's a control list, and so whoever controls the Rainbow Ballroom for that time of the new year, it's the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. No, people didn't do concerts really on the first, but whoever had control of those nights just controlled the Hmong music scene, because it didn't matter who was playing where. If you had Rainbow Ballroom, everyone flocked to Rainbow Ballroom. If you're here and you're saying yes, Long, you're breaking it down correctly, that's exactly what happened. And yes, and before Sounders was Blackbone and Ding Dong Motlu. Um, um, but whoever controlled Rainbow Ballroom controlled the mall music scene. And so what happened was, um, uh, I think Atari relinquished the control, and of course, then we had Derek under Derek Zhang, who now helps manage and runs FFS. He took control of it, and then for all those years where Paradise was so prominent, we were so prominent. Yeah, no, the music was absolutely good for that time. But it's also because we controlled Rainbow Ballroom. And so what happens after Paradise is we once we step back, then the next group, if you remember, if you were that age, to take control of Rainbow Ballroom was White Shadow. And so a lot of history coming forward now, huh? Starting to make sense. If you were alive at that time, then you know, oh, that's what happened. And and absolutely, Bon, I'm going to talk to you about KLS too. KLS is a huge wrench in the machine, because the KLS was by far the most talented programmers, in my opinion, of that era, in the sense that, like in the 90s, the most a prominent music movement was, if you remember, Enigma, and KLS was able to more or less reproduce that vibe, that chanting-ish vibe. They were excellent at programming, um, and so KLS threw this wrench because um, they they sang well, and they programmed well, but the limitation of KLS is that they couldn't play live, and so I can't think of a single time where KLS played live that I can recall. They may have played live, but I'm not aware of it. Um, but that being said, yeah, KLS was present there too, but KLS could not take a big concert presence because they weren't willing to do their music live. Um, they had a very, in my opinion, Korean-ish vibe about them, which was very groundbreaking at that time. But here you have kind of what I mentioned, early 90s. You have high voltage doing new wave, and then you have Sounders coming and doing rock. Actually, Sounders does not initially do rock. Sounder does like pop, because if you listen to Lupa Rose, now Lupa Rose is not a rock song at all. It was programmed. I could be wrong, but it was probably programmed by their singer Tom Her, who's a keyboardist, an excellent keyboardist, and it was actually sung by Tom. It was not Tai that sings Lupa Rose. If you listen to early Sounders music, it's not Tai in the forefront. Tai is like a backup singer. It's other singers. It's actually Tom that sings Lupa Rose. That's why you see occasionally you'll see Tom perform Lupa Rose as is. It's people forget that it's Tom that does Lupa Rose. That, in my opinion, is the first big Sounders song. But if you listen to the original Lupa Rose, it is not the rock that Sounders does now. It's straight up 80s pop, with the synths and piano and whatnot. But that being said, and then Paradise comes along. Paradise is different because Paradise has a huge Hmong French influence, because my brother-in-law's Fong, Ko, and Haji, they're Hmong Fakia. And so we bring in French and we start singing. First of all, we don't ever really sing. The first Paradise album that comes out is like a Hmong French. It's a Hmong rock album, ballad, but has a French vibe because they're French. They have, if you listen to French music, then you can hear the French influence, kind of like that French band that's coming out right now from Pakite. And so we came out, and then when I joined Paradise, I brought in this huge weird vibe to it. Once they let me write on the album, I didn't write much on the first two albums ish, wrote a little bit on the third, a lot on the fourth and the fifth. But then I started rapping a little bit, and then I started adding little parts to it that just completely changed it. And so Paradise was kind of like this French. Paradise became popular partially because of the French, but then also because the music that we played was drastically different. It wasn't rock, it was pop, and it had a different vibe to it. If you want to know what a band's going to sound like, you don't even have to hear the band. You just look at what's on stage. We had 2 keyboards and one guitar player, a bass player, and a drummer. Most bands, if there's a guitarist, a bass player, a drummer, and a singer, they're playing rock. They're not going to play pop, and we played kind of like a pop rock. Absolutely, successful bands comes from great management and great personality from individual members. I absolutely agree on this. Everyone plays a big part. I absolutely agree with this. The fans bring the music to life. Without the fan, there's no band, no need for manager. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with that, 100%. Sang says, and White Shadow came along after Paradise. Exactly, that's just what I said. You're right. And then I can't recall what happened. Oh, let's move on. And so you have Sudden Rush coming in. Sudden Rush is like a straight rock band. And then I think Hmong changes a little tiny bit with the advent of Yellow Diamond. And so I remember seeing David Yang for the first time at HMF 2013. He must have been, I don't know, 18 at the most at the time. Maybe not even 18. He looked really young. He had his hair part down like Justin Bieberish. Nice kid. I knew he told he was a Paradise fan. Extremely talented. Where I think Hmong music begins to transition a little bit. And why am I bringing all this up? I'm bringing all this up simply because we're moving into the digital age now. We're moving away from record labels, and so Yellow Diamond is a record label, or it's trying to be a record label, and they come forward. What happens is this, in my opinion, during the 80s, 90s, early 2000s ish, Hmong Hmong people are great musicians. They love to play a lot of music. Hmong people still love to play a lot of music, but what happens is the vocals, in my opinion, aren't the vocals now. The vocalists now, because it's so true and you can't hide it, they're superior to what my generation of Hmong artists had. They're much better. Like David Yang is infinitely more talented than any both. Well, I don't know if he's better than all. I'm not going to talk about rapping because rapping, that's not my expertise. Although I kind of did it, but he's above par. He's on a whole nother level in terms of singing and rapping. The singers like Pania, and there's a great singer in Fresno called Nancy Vang. She didn't sing much anymore, but she's a really great singer. Like Kiana, the girl vocalist, like Kay here in Fresno, and Doki. There's a lot of great singers. Like there's, if you know GY's got a voice that cuts like a knife. The girl's voice is so strong, but it's not one of these full voices, just one that'll cut through a mix. If you hear her voice, you'll know what I'm talking about. And then you have like Zhongpa, and you have for a while there was Huqi, and you have really great vocals. Like you have Chenning now. Chenning is like Hmong, I don't know, Usher R&B, excellent. Like Chenning, in my interview with him, he reviews that he's anal retentive about his vocals. Like if you listen to his tracks, and I think he does his own tracks. He does his own vocals at home, probably. Immaculate. He's so good. But that being said, yeah, Protege happens in that span between Yellow Diamond and White Shadow. Like that span where I kind of didn't pay attention to Hmong music. Unfortunately, I kind of paid attention to school. Yeah, absolutely. Tong says Faith Blossom. You can't forget Faith Blossom. Faith Blossom was the first, I think, Hmong artist that really did a lot of mainstream stuff. She did like fairs and all this and whatnot. Sang. Sang can mention, talked about that. there's not much money they will make from making music from the Hmong community as much as it is the opportunity to open up for other artists. She doesn't understand the avenues artists now have compared to. Okay, so we'll talk about that. I will talk about that too. Um, we haven't even gone to the tea. I'm so sorry. 35 minutes. We ain't even talking about the tea, but I got like 80 of you here, so you're here to listen. Protege was one of the first artists to go to get major support from a major brand. Like I think Sounders got M150, but they got it on a very limited basis. Protege was one that got a huge endorsement from M150. I remember seeing his billboard on in Fresno on McKinley and First, or McKinley and First. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. There's a Hmong person on a huge billboard, M150. And then also, of course, there's Yami Lee, Cody Lee, Protege, all in that same era. Let's go back to Yellow Diamond. But Yellow Diamond, they do something really interesting because initially they start. A lot of the music is written by Saya. If you know Saya, then Saya is probably the most prominent Hmong music producer studio, ZS Records in Fresno. He does a lot of people's music. Okay, ranging from Ma to Gongchu to you name it, he probably did it. I mean, Maya, who's coming off a new album, blessings to her. He does that. He does all their music. But something happens. It's set off, in my opinion, by Chance the Rapper. So Chance the Rapper is one of the first artist to basically get really famous on his own. He doesn't use a record label. He just says, I'm gonna do it myself, and we're gonna do the social media thing, and we're gonna grow it, and boom. And you start seeing that movement where now it's very different. So okay, people don't want to talk about this. I'll talk about it because no one's gonna talk about it because no one will have the people don't talk about this. I'm gonna talk about it. In the 90s, in order for you to make a good album, you had to book a big studio and you had to rent or hire an engineer to mix your music at a prominent studio with the ability to mix it well. In Fresno, it was Maximus. It was Maximus, and then like Sounders, they went down south and whatnot. I don't think we really went down south much to mix any of our music. And you would have that ability. And if you remember, the reason why Paradise sounded the way it is because number one, Bechimunya, and number two, we didn't have access to a big studio. We don't have the, you couldn't really make your music. We had what we call an 8-track or 4-track. Basically, you could use 8 instruments and you could track them. That could be your song, and you could make a song using 8 instruments. And then in the 90s, you had the advent of home studios. It was a big deal when Pro Tools came out, and you could now make your music at home. That was a huge deal, but Pro Tools was really expensive and it was pretty bad. It was, like Jijongwachi, in my opinion, because only you had to have money to use Pro Tools because they would always revise it, and you have to pay for the new system upgrade. Bad. Now, my Mac is making all of my music. It's making all of my video. We're at a completely new digital age now, in the sense that my camera can. I mean, look at my camera. I'm not that great of a videographer, but my camera, the access. I mean, we can shoot 4K, 8K without going in debt. I mean, in the past when we shot Paradise's music video, no, it was like a $40,000 camera. Now you can get even better 4K, 8K quality, a couple thousand. And so it's a whole different world now. And so what happens now is where we're really different now is that now in the past, if you wanted to make a good song, you'd have to hire like a studio musician to do it. I know that Sounders did it. Paradise did it at some point also on a very limited basis. We didn't like doing that. Um, um, and so now you have access to really high grade studio musicians. The internet, you can just send them their piece and you can say, hey, play the song for me, make it sound great. I don't know. That's probably what Paradise did. I'm not in the last ending phases of Paradise, but that's probably what Paradise did too. That's probably what Sounders is doing now to a certain extent. And you can do that if you had the money. Or you can do what a lot of people do now. You can just buy the beats and sing on top of it. and that can be very much how you make the music now. So arguably, you don't need a record label anymore. You can do what Chance the Rapper did. You can run your own business basically. And here's the tea, okay? But you all been waiting for it. Here's the tea. And so let's give a little bit of transparency to it. Okay, so let's get to the point. 40 minutes in, long as talking and talking. He's finally getting to it. Anyone, if you're here, the 68 of you that are still here watching, okay, this is what you're here for. So a couple of days ago, I I got word of this really controversial statement by Chami, which I didn't think was very controversial at all. Um, I guess let's put this out first. I don't do music full time. Absolutely not. I am not a content creator full time at all. Um, I am in my 40s. I'm not even gonna hide about. I'm not hiding anything about my age. I'm in my 40s, early 40s. Um, I've been there, done that. I do work full time. I am a physician assistant in orthopedic sports medicine practice. I do surgery for a living. I'm not Gucci and Hang, but I'm comfortable. And I'll be honest. I do what I can. I do what I do because of what I do on the side. This isn't because I'm hustling. Uh, the day this gets boring to me, I'm gonna stop. The day it the day people start making me feel awful for my opinion, then I'll probably stop. I'll just keep my opinion to myself. So I don't have to do this. I do it because it is a passion. And you always hear people saying, you do you. So this is me doing me. That's all this is. And I do it because I love music, and I do it very specifically. I've been very upfront about this because I love capturing Hmong music. I love providing a platform for Hmong people. Let's give a perspective. So if you're sitting here and you're saying, okay, Long, just get to the chase. There is no chase. If you want to understand the situation, then you'll listen to my rant, because the rant, well, it's here's the thing. Okay, we have a when someone brings a candle to you, okay, that candle is not intended to create heat and fire and burn. Okay, you can get burned by a candle, but what the candle really doing is the candle is shedding light, so in darkness, so that we all can see. That's my only invested interest in this issue. I'm not here to create any tea. Sorry, Chase. I'm not here to create any heat, any damage. I'm here to shed light. And the reason why I'm morally compelled to share this light is because I think people are not fairly representing the situation, and that's what I want to, in my opinion, I'm going to attempt to clarify. Um, and so, number one, I'm not here to create heat. I'm not here to be controversial. Number two, I'm here to shed light. And the light that I bring, this little candle that I'm bringing, is to create light. It is not here to burn anyone at all, in any way, shape, or form. If you get burned, then contact me directly. I can write you some medications as a PA. Okay, but yes, absolutely. I still do live in Fresno, and here's the thing: we're here. This isn't an argument. First of all, let's get that straight out. An argument determines who's right and who's wrong. This is a discussion rather than determine who's right and who's wrong. I'm actually here to discuss, because the discussion determines what is right, and we're here to discuss what is right. And in most cases, on most controversial issues, the truth is always somewhere in the middle. If on a given issue, if you think it's black and white, some issues are black and white, but if you think it's black and white, then you're simply misunderstanding the issue. And I'm here to explain, I guess, why I say it's black and white. And so you're here, obviously, and so we'll begin to talk about the issue now. Thank you for joining me here. Yes, I am still in Fresno. Yes, sir. Passion. Okay, thank you. And if you like what I do, what you can do is you can give me stars if you want to support me. Homie said if you hurt, he got you with the scripts. Yes, I can write you scripts. But that being said, let's get to the point. And so Jami had made some comments, but this is where the issue becomes sensationalized. Okay, the issue becomes sensationalized because people just read the comment. out of its proper context. Um, Thank you for joining me. 2 o'clock in the morning from Minnesota. Um, so far, my Yevu is one of the few person I heard so far talked about this controversial issue. Always great to hear more from more artists. Yes, and so, Pal, I'm here. As you said, I'm here because people aren't talking about the issue, and I just wanted to give my opinion. My concern was that the issue would just die and people would just blacklist John Me, which is not good. John, thank you. From Singapore. I'm gonna interview John too as an artist and as a producer very shortly. You'll see probably that tonight or tomorrow. That announcement. But let's really look at it. Jami did not make a statement out of nowhere. There was a specific context, and so if you want the truth, if you want to see the light in the darkness, then you have to look at the context. I think anyone that jumps into this and gets heated without understanding the context, you're gonna get yourself in trouble, or you're. If you want to know what's going on, look at the real deal. I'll share you my screen. Let's do it this way. This is public information. This might get me in trouble. It might not. I know both these people to a certain degree. I actually know one more so than the other. I like I said, I know. I've met. I said I formally have said hi to Jami one time. That's it. And I've contacted Trisha many times. Um, and so let's see here. Okay, so the context. This is what everyone wants to talk about. Please ignore all my side screens from all these chats that make these disappear. How embarrassing. Okay, but basically, this is where the issue begins. Trisha, great person. I love Trisha. She's awesome, an emerging artist who has been touring, is touring. Support her wherever she goes. She's a great artist, very kind-hearted person, very bubbly, joyful person. I can't think of an artist that is as friendly as Trisha. But she writes this. As much as I want to keep up with other Hmong artists who can release amazing songs after song, I'm here to announce that I will be taking another break from writing and releasing songs until next year or even longer. To make it straight, which might be shocking to some fans, truthfully, singing is simply I did share. Simply my hobby, but not my career. I sing and write lyrics when I have time, and I can convince myself, and when I can convince myself that I can complete a song. Right now in life, I just want to chill, step back, and live my happy life while working my new job in this different environment as I am still exploring. That's why I do not have any new songs as of now. I love singing at concerts. Don't get me wrong. In fact, I have more concerts coming up this year, including a duet with another artist who I'm excited to see who. I love singing, but I will take my break from here when time is right. And I'm fully convinced that I can finish yet another song. It is a lot of work to finish one song, mind you, depending on how accurately you want this, how nice you want that song to be. Let's all hope I will come back with a much better song than before. She has some excellent songs, by the way. Go support Trisha. Until then, much love to the ones who supported me from day one, and I wouldn't be here without you all. So she writes that. Straightforward. And then if you look in the comments, um, why am I doing this? Okay, look, I'm doing this because I want you guys to have the proper context. If you do not have the proper context, then what Jami says is extremely controversial. But people don't have the proper context, in my opinion. And then you have here, and then you have this comment here. And so this is where Jami comments. Okay, Kyle with his big fish. Okay, let's ignore Kyle for just a little bit here. And this is where Jami says, I'd like to say something very honest to the younger generation. Sometimes people say to go after your dreams, etc., which is great. But I would also like to point out there's no money in Hmong music. That's a controversial topic thing to say. But go be a dentist, a doctor, and a small business owner, or anything else that can support you financially. But Hmong music cannot and have not been able to support many of the most famous Hmong singers in the history of Hmong music. Yes, have fun and learn and experience the creativity process. But again, there is no Hmong, there is no uh, there is no money in Hmong music. So that being said, to me that wasn't such a big deal. Here's the proper context, and the reason why I think it's not such a huge issue. I don't think it's a huge issue because here you have Trisha saying, "Okay, I love music, but I'm going to take some time off. There's other things, work and whatnot that I like to do." And then Jami reaffirms what she's doing. She just basically said, "Yeah, I'm going to make this statement. Basically, yeah, to the younger generation, I'm going to take this opportunity to say, there isn't money in Hmong music. Um, that's not the end of it. Go be this and go become a doctor, lawyer, a doctor, a small business owner, anything else to support you financially, but Hmong music cannot and have not been able to support." Absolutely true, in my opinion. Absolutely true. And that's where the controversy comes out. Um, and the issue, that's not a big deal. I agree. Uh, here you here you go. I was not aware of the context. Remember I told you, it let's not sensationalize things. This ain't Hmong tea. I ain't giving you Hmong tea. I'm giving you the correct context. And so here's the thing. You got this long. Yes, I do. I'm going to clarify. I'm not going to create any. I'm only creating light for people to see. I'm not going to sensationalize this. I'm not going to burn anyone as much as possible. I don't think it's a huge issue. She's half right in the middle. There's some truth to it. It's not impossible. It can work. It can. Absolutely, I agree. Um, and so she actually goes um, much further than this. Um, so like I actually first saw this on All That Talk by Callie and Olivia. That show support them on All That Talk, and they bring up great issues, and they brought it forward. And that's when someone said, "Hey, get Long's opinion on this," and I said, "Okay, well, I don't know if I'm going to actually talk to him." We kind of talked about it, but I didn't want to sit on the issue too, so I apologize to Callie if I kind of moved forward. I'm more than happy to talk on All That Talk, to be cross-examined, I guess, if necessary. But Ami doesn't leave it alone. She really doesn't, because there's a lot of controversy, and so she actually clarifies. And so here you have other artists, Christian Yang, other internet people, and look here, guys. I know I'm showing you stuff, but this is all public. None of this is hidden. It's all meant to be shared. It's all to the benefit. We're a community, right? That's what we're here for. We're talking about the issue, which is excellent. Um, he makes a great argument. If you want to see how you can make money, click this and listen to his comments. Very, very genuine and very, very transparent. Um, she clarifies. She absolutely clarifies in this post. Um, and she said, see if you guys can still see that. Let's blow this up a little bit. And so, look, you have to kind of read into it a little bit. Okay, if you just take her this statement and you run with it, then that's not the context. We've already established that the context was she's actually completely agreeing. Trisha is actually doing exactly what she says, that music is hard and it's hard to make a living. Okay, let's get this straight. Let's put this out there. Every single Hmong band out there, um, every single content creator, if we could make a living off of it, we'd be doing it, right? We'd be doing it. Um, um, we would absolutely be able to do it. Um, yeah, we would absolutely be doing it. Why wouldn't we? The context is well, what people are saying is that the playing ground is a little bit different now. There's social media, but then here you go. She makes that comment, and now it really escalates. But what you see here too is oh, she modified the post. Okay, so she modified the post. I might get in trouble for doing this, but she modified the post. Originally, the post she actually showed the original post linking back to Trisha's post. For whatever reason, Trisha, I'm creating drama for you, uh, but I'm just trying to explain the context a little bit. But I think she removed it because I don't see it anymore. But she gets a lot of these comments, and we can visit the comments too. Hey, guys, this is social media. If you put something up, people are going to evaluate it. I mean, that's just the reality. Um, there's a lot of people that agree with it. There's a lot of people disagree with it. So what Pal mentioned earlier, um, Maya has spoken about it on All That Talk the other night. They had PD Rock, and then also they also had ah, the videographer. It's midnight. My brain is fried. Um, Jack GV, who is an excellent, phenomenal videographer, by the way. I think he is on another level in terms of videography as someone who shoots video. Um, um, Coming from someone that shoots video. Um, but that being said, it turns into this huge mess, and people are getting upset, and that's why now we're getting to the heart of the subject. And here's here's my input. This is what you guys are all really here for. 55 minutes in, this is my actual opinion on the matter, because I think I really do sit in the middle. Um, because on the spectrum you have this. Okay, this is what we're really talking about. On one side you have Jami, who is saying, um, she's not. I don't see the. Okay, we're gonna dig. We're gonna dig. I'm sorry. We're gonna dig because if I just described it, I don't want to misquote people. So I don't want to misquote people. Let's get that straight. So I'm gonna just let's look at what people are really saying. So let's look really close now. And so you have everyone talking in here, but what I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing artists speak much. Um, which is disheartening, because well, we're putting so much out there, Malio and Malio. But first of all, I'm gonna say this: people might not agree, but if you let me explain why I agree, or with Jami, then you might see it, and I'll also explain where I disagree with Jami too. Kind of what I said. If you listen to what I said, if you see the world as black and white, then I think you have a miss. You do not have a good perception of the truth. It's always in the gray. Usually, it's in the gray, very much in the gray in this sense. But on one spectrum, you have Jami, who basically, I mean, as long as Paradise been there, Jami's pretty much been there too. So that's like 2000s, I want to say. And so Jami has morphed from this musician, got married, started doing music again, and then started a business actually under a company about herself, selling multiple things. And she's doing, in my opinion, fairly well. She gives back to the community during COVID. Jami was doing concerts for people, bridging the gap between artists in Hmong American artists and Hmong Thai, Hmong blah Hmong Thai artists, and she was doing all this for relatively free. Um, and then on the other hand, you have other people uh, that are doing Hmong Americans that are doing, and Hmong Thai, but we'll talk about this too, why it's controversial. Music full time. I think the polar opposite would be David Yang. Love the guy, super busy. He does this full time. I mean, he eats, breathes music full time. That's all he does. He's probably one of the first ones to do it. As so, you have other artists doing it. I think like Kalia's doing it. I think Chenning's doing it. Um, there are probably others doing it too, but those are the most prominent ones. So you have this wide spectrum of artists that are doing it, and people, the younger people are not seeing eye to eye with the older people, because the younger people are saying, "No, you can do it. Absolutely, you can do it in social media." The old people are behind in the ways, and I think where I can speak to a little bit of both is that, yeah, I'm not old. I'm not like KZ old or Lee Ball, but I'm not young like David. David is kind of moving into the older phase. He's kind of kind of moving towards his 30s. I'm not like Chenning. Chenning's not super young. He's not like 16. He's not like Macy Her, who's 18. Um, but I can kind of speak to it only because I'm 1 foot or 2 feet into the social media world now as a content creator. Again, I am monetized on YouTube, on Facebook. I'm on the verge of being monetized as a so for those who don't know, you can be monetized multiple ways on Facebook. You can write in articles that you can get advertisement monetization for. You can do reels, the short videos on Facebook. I'm in the process. I'm literally um, um, being evaluated for content videos, the actual videos monetization. That means you have to have 10,000 followers and 600,000 minutes of views within 2 months, which is crazy in my opinion. For me, anyways, I barely did it. So I think it's fair to say I have 1 foot in, so I can kind of speak as to to what young people are doing. I am not David Yang. I do not have 170,000 followers on Facebook, thousands and thousands of tens of thousands of followers on YouTube and whatnot. I mean, he has got like 100, close to 170,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube. No, I'm not that at all. But I can see um, where the money can come from, um, and so where I want to actually commend Jami is that we're going to pull back a little bit. I'm not going to go to that talk yet. But Jami, we have to look at what she actually says. Okay. And a lot of people are kind of, it's not apple to apples anymore. We're now talking about apples and oranges. Because if you look at what Jami says, she's very concise and clear. And if you just look literally almost like from a legal point of view at what she writes and if you just look at what she writes and nothing more, you have to see this. Okay, so she says very clearly right here, there where I disagree is I don't say there's no money in the Hmong music industry, because there, oops, let's not destroy this. It's not that there isn't any money in the Hmong industry. There is money. Some people got really upset at her too, but um where she's wrong is there is some money in the Hmong music, but specifically she says Hmong music. She does not say mainstream music, and a lot of people want to cross over into mainstream music, um, but that's not what she's talking about. I don't think that's what she's talking about. She's talking about Hmong music there, and I agree there is money in Hmong music, but there's not a whole lot of money. And she says, that's I hope this doesn't ruin it. Let's see. This pulls us back too far. At one point, she makes a comment. We'll look at it. At one point, she clarifies. So at one point she says, you just can't make a living. Let's see where she says it. She says it right. You have a lot of people commenting in here by that. A lot of prominent Hmong artists too. Yeah, so she says here, okay, this is where she's begin the and so if you've never seen this before, then you're seeing the light of it. Wow, I didn't realize this post would get so many people to comment and voice their opinions. This might be a good thing for this very important issue. I agree, it is a very important thing. I commend Jami for bringing it out. First of all, it was never my intention to discourage the young people to not go into music or the arts. However, you should go into it with plans A, B, and C, and an exit strategy, whether you make it or not. As someone more eloquently stated, do not put all your eggs in one basket. For me personally, it is only after 20 years that I realized that I must have an exit strategy. Oh, here it is. Here's the link to the original post. There it is. She didn't delete it. It was in the comment. I'm sorry. And then, nevertheless, this is perfect timing for this discussion because the Hmong music industry is at a crossroad. I agree. During many discussions with other older singers, musicians, we had always hoped that someone would break out of the Hmong community and into the mainstream, but so far we don't have it yet. Get this straight. She's not saying don't follow your dreams. She's saying plan A, B, or C. Okay, she's not saying don't do it. And I'll explain why that becomes an issue. Hopefully soon. Until then, as it currently stands, even with all the social media technology improvements of today, she's now recognizing the monetization things. Okay, most Hmong singers cannot make a comfortable living strictly with Hmong music alone yet. Okay, that's her position. A comfortable. She says right here, guys, a comfortable living. Okay. I'm very much aware of the macro Hmong populations, 300,000 in the US. It's probably more than that now. 300,000 in Thailand, 600,000 in Laos, 1.2 million in Vietnam, 45 million in China. Perhaps singers in Laos and Thailand can make a decent living off social media earnings, but in my opinion, it is not sustainable. Okay, we're going to talk about this. This is where we have a, like my work, our catch term is the strength of experience. Okay, so there's a strength and experience, and that comes of age, unfortunately. I hope that by bringing this issue into the limelight, it will shed light on two issues. Let the younger generation be aware of the pitfalls of being a Hmong artist in the Hmong community. They must have alternative plans or an exit strategy besides strictly music. So she's talking about this. You must understand what she's saying. She's talking about strictly music. And where I see most people making comments, they're not listening to they're not seeing this part of her argument. They're only taking that one little snippet, her initial comment, and they're riding that like a dead horse into the sunset. Um, Besides strict music, and that the general Hmong community must value these upcoming artists and pay them as professionals in the field. So actually advocating for Hmong artists to get paid more. And so there to a certain extent, there's some semantics going on in the sense that Chami is actually, what are we arguing about? That's what it comes down to. Uh, Let me speak to what Chami is saying. So first of all, let's pull back as we've done all night long so we can have a transparent understanding. I commend Chami for saying this, okay? And the reason why I commend Chami for putting this out there, because this right here, okay? This is something that you say to your child, someone that you really, really care about, okay? When you put something up like this, it's highly controversial because some people are highly invested in what they do, and I'll speak to it. But she makes herself extremely vulnerable by making this statement because it's been greatly construed, completely misinterpreted. And here, if you never get to this part of her argument, you don't know what she's really saying, essentially. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because I don't think people are going to ever read this comment here that she makes, which is really important. And where I commend her is that she has the courage to say it. And where I actually commend her is that I actually back her in the sense that I've said this to Channing, I've said this to David, not in this way, but I've told him the way I said it is this, the way I've worded it. I've said the same thing. I've just worded it slightly different, and perhaps it's in the wording where the controversy is the way I say it is this. Như thịt bé mong một tế trời, như thịt bé mong nên giàu nè, chỉ cũng chênh hay the bé mong the artist would not need to work another job. You Google South Korea, everyone's talking about BTS breaking through. Well, yeah, BTS, South Korea, that's like 60 million people, right? Uh, 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 Vietnam, that's like, I don't know, maybe at least 20 million, 30 million people. Taipei, yeah, they're in the millions. Hmong here in the US, I don't know, 400,000. Hmong, she's putting it here. She's laying it out right here. If you read into the data, what she's saying behind it, yeah, there's like, okay, let's say Hmong people in the whole entire world, 6 million. Okay, let's say 6 million. Let's give us 6 million or 7 million, fine. But that's nothing. And I'll tell you why that's nothing. Because it's only Hmong Americans in the United States that live in a first world country. Okay. Everyone else that's on this list here is either a second world or third world country. And you can't live off that. Let's illustrate here. So one of the hardest lessons that I've had to learn, so that you guys don't feel ignored, I'm going to read your comments a little bit here, but I'm going to tell you a story that will illustrate this issue at hand, in my opinion. And this is where people will say, well, Long's being a dick. Um, I don't come off as one. But Caitlin says, I don't see any ill intent with her comment, but I do feel that her dialogue is what made it come across. I agree, as aggressive or out of context. Yes, I absolutely agree. It was taken out of context. Ken says, music is hard. I wish it was easier. I agree. It is hard. Um, I still work full time. So this is Chokia from Alaska. I still work full time, but I love doing this as a passion. That's what I keep telling my wife. Yes. Um, Agree to disagree, truth to it, and yet blinded. I agree. Uh, Agree to disagree. Um, I guess I disagree to agree. I don't know how you want to say it. Yeah, I don't agree to disagree. I disagree to agree. Um, and then the way that's said makes a little bit of a difference too. Um, Replying to Kenmore, that's why I hung up my guitars. Yep. John, yep. Agreed, PD. Oh, is that PD? Who's here? Is PD here? I don't know. Ken Moss is replying to Caitlin. It sounds passive aggressive, but it's not that bad. Um, yeah, there's nothing wrong with sharing public information. It's there. I guess maybe I shouldn't show it, but if they say take this down, I'll happily take this down. Replying to Ken Moss, I love that. That's why I started to hate music at one point. Okay, yeah. Um, there's a lot of comments. So just take a little bit. But from what I've learned, we can't call Trish not an artist, just like she started then, and it's totally fine. But that's coming from Trish, though. By the way, that she's not an artist. Whether she's, I think she's absolutely an artist, but that's coming from Trish. So I'm not gonna. So this is Jack. Oh, Jack. Hey, Jack. Um, I can't call Trish an artist. Then totally fine. Um, that statement right there, so true. People will always dissect what you say, but that's why it's important for us to use better our dialogue when explaining. I love her taste of reality, but maybe change her words rather than fuel the fire. Um, we know John, yes. John says, I have a lot to say, but at the same time, I don't. Yeah, you have to be a little courageous to say this. That's the issue, John. The world is gray. Absolutely, the world is gray. We can't all agree. It's okay. Absolutely. We're here to bring light to the issue. We're not here to see who's right or wrong. We're here to assess what is right and what's really going on here. Also love the feedback and approach to the situation. John says, not everyone is passionate and everyone has their own definite definition of success. I can't speak on others. I can only do what I can for the next generation, even if I don't make money. Someone has to do it. I absolutely agree. I have to go to bed, brother. Sorry, go to sleep. We'll rewatch it. Thank you, Chokya. Until we have true Hmong owned record labels and management companies, or have Hmong artists signed by any independent or mainstream, then hard to measure and compare. I agree, but it's needed, and I hope that there can be one in one day. I have a very strong opinion on this, um, and I'll share it in a little bit. I don't think that's necessary, I'll tell you why. Talpima sister Jami or for fun thiet or fame su Tao nu sang lo ball lo your artists make money. Li brother David Yang de nu mali sa so make money from music that she li minji lo. Yeah, li minji, but never too late. Jamie, it's all about timing, in my opinion, era timing. But what I do know about music, what do I know about music? Haha, I don't. You do actually, Jen. You know quite a bit. Jen is Daisy Love. Thank you for what you do in the community. Also, she branded herself well and transitioned herself into another brand, and that's what many smart artists do. I agree. During Jami Lucy He Tao Nu Ching, Doma Nu make more CD albums here or more concert private. Oh, my screen is too small. Let's not do that. My wife is like pointing something at me. You can just say to me, Viv, my wife is over here saying, long, you're taking forever. Go to sleep or something. Close the other screen. She wants me to close the other screen. I'll keep it on because I have to keep it on. So she's texting me stuff too. That's Petey who said that. Okay. So Petey, hopefully you're still here. If any of you guys, by the way, if you want to come on and talk and you're not crazy tired, hey, come on and talk. Text me, message me really quick, and I'll send you the link. Petey, absolutely. Can I join your near the end? That's what Ken says. Yeah, Ken, you can join my discussion anytime. Actually, let's wait to the end. So let me get the main points across. Lots of points. Again, I said, if you wanted something simple, then you should leave. This is not simple, but if you want the truth and you want to assess the truth for what it is, then stay. Anyone else usually the people that want the truth, they'll spend the time, and the people who just want to cookie cut things, and we don't live in a cookie cutter world, then you'll stay. Um, but that being said, if we are talking about strictly Hmong music, then there is not a lot of money. I agree. If you can compare it to mainstream music, this is chump change. Yes, I love the culture and music, but if we want to continue to grow, we need to evolve as the world continues to evolve. Okay. To be honest, uh, people are hearing me. This is a video in lifetime, so I'm actually discussing my community here, and we're talking. This is like legit intimate conversation. That's why I'm reading this. And if you're rewatching, you're like, what is Long doing? No, we're discussing in lifetime. To be honest, I haven't seen too many young folks in the Hmong community go into music anymore. It just isn't how it is anymore with open mics looking forward to it. Um, that was very well said as compared to her other comment. I like the accountability. I'm back. Oh, you're back. Thank you. Sang says, yes, bigger contracts is what she's trying to say, besides from social media platforms. That last statement from Jamie, I totally agree with. Um, the day the Hmong community understands royalties and copyrights, how we all win through real life and social media off each other on a small platform to all mainstream platform. That'll be the day. That can be the day, actually. If you do right, you are so correct, Long. I hope so, but I'm not. I don't really care if I'm correct. To tell you the truth, I just want to share my side, and I actively want people to disagree. And it's like a knife. No knife should sit the way it is, and all knives need to be sharpened. I can't sharpen myself. You guys sharpen me. You got this Long. I already see what you're talking about, or you're taking this. Yes, I agree. I'm gonna take it a little bit further because there's a little bit of data that most people do not know, and most people will not share unless and you've seen it. Y'all, I promise I won't unfriend you on Facebook. You're doing a great job so far. Yeah. If you like what I'm doing, then you can support me. I like stars. Or just share. The most important thing you can do is share this page. Yes, Chatate. I have turned down a few artists to manage them because they want just fame and not money, and not money, but I can do both. But trust is important for me. True story. Hi Viv. Oh, okay, that's my wife. Hi Jess. How are you? Hi to your husband. Um, LV. Hi, if you're curious, is my wife. Um, dang, we should have a talk about this, about the importance of spouses in music. If you have a spouse, great topic and coverage. Is definitely a conversation you need to discuss. Cheers and good night from Minnesota. Will love to hit me up. I don't know who this is. To me, I just see Facebook user, unfortunately. Oh, Kenny's here. Kenny, how are you? One of the best Hmong bassists in the Hmong community. What many don't understand is that an industry works from many parts, not just one artist. Not one artist can make it without the players behind the background, and how an industry can intertwine together where money flows. It takes quite a bit. Crew, lighting. I couldn't see that whole message, but yeah, absolutely. Are we at the end? Okay, good. We are at the end. Okay, so yeah, when I saw Chenny post about what she said, oh Chenning, oh yeah, Chenning came out because Chenning is one of the few that does do it, and I think that's where it becomes a really hot topic when the people on the other spectrum of so thank you for those who are commenting. PD, I'm gonna hit you up for sure. I'm gonna try to. What would be really interesting, PD, is for us for the for the inside people to speak, because here I'm doing this because the inside people are not talking, or they're not getting a good perspective, because I think we're talking about the same thing, but we have slightly different interests. So let me tell this story about how I learned about perspective, and if this makes sense and if this is something valuable, then take a mental note of it. I'm not going to read Caitlin's comment quite yet, and I'll get back to it. But let me tell it this way, where I keep on saying there's strength in experience, because Jami's to young people, Jami's comment is people just want to label her so easy as someone who's older, who just only knew concerts, and see, no, Jami's probably monetized or very close to monetized, if not already. I don't know if she's monetized or not. She'll speak to that. Um, but people want to put her off as someone who, yeah, you don't get it, you're not with the time. She very much might be. It may be the case that she very much is with the time. That's what people aren't realizing. And then you have the other side, Channing David. And Channing formally made a comment that he blatantly disagreed, and let's tell it this way, where I think this was the hardest lesson for me to learn about who I was as a person. And so I'll tell it this way. So my first year at Fresno State, this was 98, if you want to calculate how old I am, 1998, as a freshman in an English class at Fresno State. And we sat in, and on the first day, my English, I guess English essay. It was like an English statement. It was like one of the mid-level English classes. She has an icebreaker, and this is her icebreaker. She says, "Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go around the room, and you're gonna say your name, and this is what our icebreaker question will be: How much money would you need to make in a year to be happy?" Okay, simple. At the time, I didn't know what she was really asking. I'm like, okay, this is simple enough. But I think she was doing a low-key social experiment on her students, okay, to gauge her students, which was brilliant and very controversial at the time. Because at Fresno State, you had people like me. I wasn't born here. I grew up here for the most part, but low income. My dad was a prominent leader in Laos. He was equivalent of kind of like a area supervisor. Um, and then he came to this country and had to be settle for to be a custodian. That being said, uh, the kids who didn't have money, you knew exactly who they were because we were like this. It was like, oh yeah, uh, like I think I remember saying something to the effect of, yeah, to be happy, you just need to make $40,000 a year. You'll be really happy. And now I look at that, I'm like, oh man, let me look at them. But look at it, I mean, looking at it now, if I was my age now, looking at my comeback now, I say, oh man, this kid must come from a very poor background to say that the amount of money you need to make in life to be happy a year is 40,000. And when we were going around the class, and all the Hmong kids were saying like, oh yeah, 30,000. We don't need 40, you need 30. And some people were saying like, oh yeah, you need to make 70,000. And in my mind, I was like, "Oh my god, you don't need to make 70,000. That's way too much money." Like at the time, my dad was raising. We were a family of 8. I don't even think my dad was making $40,000 a year. That's why I said $40,000 because we were getting by $40,000 with 8 kids. I had a full ride at Fresno State too. Um, and then this one kid, this girl, she later becomes a good friend of mine. Um, and she says straight up says something to the effect of like $5 million. And we're like, whoa, $5 million. That's what you need to make in a lifetime to be happy. The moral of this story being that that's when I realized that when I got to know this girl, her parents actually owned a bunch of businesses in Fresno. And so perspective na, then it's hard to understand why people would say 5 million. And so I remember as a kid growing up, you didn't have anything. And uh, I thought that the money being made in paradise was a lot of money. I sincerely thought that was a lot of money because I didn't have any money. But I think where, where it's a little bit different, where the perspective might be different, and it's valid. Both sides are absolutely valid because you can make a comfortable living, but people have a very different uh, understanding of what comfortable is. In the sense that me, when I was 20, 21, comfortable would have been probably happy living out of my car. But now, like in my 40s, comfortable is a whole different ball game, completely different ball game. Because now I have to have a house, I have several cars for my family. I have 6 beautiful kids, and I'm trying to provide a lifestyle for them that I never had. So my kids they love to swim, so you got to teach them how to swim. Some of them want to sing, so then you got to give them vocal lessons. Some of them are musicians, and so you have to teach them how to play music. And so this idea of comfortable, I think that's where the controversy is. Um, that there's vast differences in what's comfortable, and for some people, making money as so is comfortable. but for some people it's not. And what you'll find is older people, well, when I was 21, I didn't get sick. I didn't have any medical conditions. I didn't need any medications. I didn't have a house. I had a car, um, but didn't have that many bills. So this concept of comfortable, and if we just talk about the idea of comfortable, is vastly different. Because once you have kids, and if you really want to provide for your kids, it is really expensive, by the way. Um, and so I think that's where the issue comes up. It's about perspective. And I think it's being respectful to everyone's perspective, because everyone, I would, my 21-year-old self would fist fight with my 40-year-old self all day long. I know it for sure. And I think where this is where I'm saying it's commendable for Jami to say this, because um, this this is something what Jami said is something you would say to your own children, people that you really love, that you're okay saying it to them, because you sat there, you know, "Hai tu xie zhi tu xie zhi 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 tu xie ge lu ni zao jie," they have to take your word for it. And so where I think I commend Jami is that she really made herself vulnerable by really making these statements, and now she's getting the backlash of it. And I'll be honest, I'm not okay with that, in the sense that she's speaking the truth. And here's where the truth begins to lay itself out. I can't think of a single artist of my generation, at least, that is not working another job. And I would submit to you that the musicians of the older generation that are still doing music are doing it because they have another job and because they love it. Um, it's only the youngest generation that are able to do that. But where it gets gray is, Jami talks. She mentions it. She does not Nichintoa, but she maybe I should talk to Jami, but Jami, she does not elaborate, but she did say it. I believe that she's made to defend herself. She will elaborate, but here she says it. It's there. If you're not old enough to know how to read in between the lines, and you may misinterpret it, um, but she says it. She absolutely says it. Let me pull it back up. She says it right here. She says here. Do I still have that up? She says it right here. She says, when she talks about the Thai singers, um, where did she say it? She says right here, um, perhaps singers in Laos and Thailand can make a decent living off social media earnings, but in my opinion, it is not sustainable. And where Jami is absolutely right is that at least of Jonanonyom, Taitanium, they do not do this alone. I think the only one that might be doing this alone, and she's going to transition away, I suspect, is maybe Huavu. But Win, clearly he sells things. They're transitioning. So where Jami is correct is, if she's being transparent. She's saying, if you think that you can just do Hmong music alone, then you can. But if anyone that can do it, uh, if anyone that will be able to do it, it's actually not Americans. It's not going to be Hmong Americans. It's going to be Hmong Thai and Hmong Blanc, especially a spot, probably Hmong Thai. I'll tell you why Hmong Blanc can't do it, because Facebook will not monetize people from third world countries, Laos. They will monetize people from second world countries, Thailand. Okay, and so why is that relevant? Okay, why is that relevant? Here's why it's relevant. Let me explain to you why it's relevant. It's relevant because of this. If you know monetization, then you know analytics. Okay, this is where it's going to get nerdy, and uh where I'm going to show you the secrets of the inside music world. Those who are not monetized, then you will not have access to this data. Those who do and are monetized, then you will be able to reference this, okay, because you can see, because you're Hmong. So this is how monetization works, at least on YouTube. Most people are not monetized on Facebook with videos because it's extremely hard. Like I said, at least 10,000 followers, which is not hard, if you know how to do it. But 600,000 minutes in 2 months. I mean, that's how you get monetized on videos in Facebook. And Facebook has not yet confirmed my monetization, my on Facebook yet. They've taken more than a month. But on YouTube, all you need is, how many followers? 1,000, I think. And then you just need something. It's been so long. Sorry, you don't need relatively small amount of hours. Um, but here's the thing: YouTube tracks the information regarding who views you. Okay, this is where I might be wrong because I am monetized, but I do not have 170,000 viewers like David. Only David can really talk to this. I don't know if David is willing to talk about this. Maybe David will say Long's full of crap. Don't listen to him. But that being said, this is how YouTube 来去做的, okay? So they know who's viewing your channel. You can, if you go in your analytics, okay, very good. 1,000 subscribers. Um, Oh, let's unpin that. I didn't mean to pin that. 1,000 subscribers in 10,000 minutes, which is really easy, by the way. No, it's not really easy, um, but a lot easier than Facebook, which is 10,000 followers and 600,000 minutes in 2 months, not overall, in 2 months, um, which is um, uh, very to the point. What they do is you can look at your analytics. You can see how many. Here's what you guys don't see. You guys like if we look at my. Nah, I'm not gonna open mine. But if you look at mine, I'll have like what 7,000 followers on YouTube. But what you guys don't know is you guys don't know how many of those are from Laos and how many of those are from America. Okay, and that is very important to know. Um, Here's why: because um, it matters who views your videos. Okay, so check this out. On Facebook, you can look at your revenue, how much money, because we're talking about money. That's what this issue is about. People are saying you can't make all this money in Hmong music alone. Jami says no, Hmong music alone, no. But then we're not talking apples and apples. We're talking apples and because some people say no, you can make money, but you have to move out of Hmong people. But that's not what Jami is talking about. Though Jami is talking about only Hmong music. So now I'm talking about Hmong music, and but the analytics will show you, like, for example, that your revenue data will show you exactly how much money you're getting from what country now. And so what you'll find really quickly is that YouTube does not hold high regards of views from third world countries. Let me explain it this way. When I look at my data, I'll have like, let's say, and I'm throwing this up, like 100,000 views from Laos, and I'll have like 500 views from Australia. I don't know who's viewing at me from Australia, but I know I have Australian viewers. And it'll say, okay, your weekly amount of money from Laos will be like whatever, let's say $10. Okay. But I'm looking at my Australian views and it's 500 views, but I'm getting $30 from Australia, meaning that your views might be high, but it depends on who's viewing you because it's all about advertisement. And if your advertisement, if your viewers are from a third world country, well, YouTube doesn't care. YouTube say, well, that's third world country. I'm not going to pay you for that. And so it really depends on who views it. So it's misleading. Basically, the devil's in the details in terms of whether you can make it or not. It's not just the number of viewers you have. That your influence is huge, but in terms of your payment, that changes whether you're paid $1,000 for 1 million views or $10,000 for 1 million views. And so, of course, yeah. Thing is saying, "Hi, Thing, how are you?" Thing is saying, but that's small money, and so you have people chiming in. Let's look at who's chiming in. Let's just here. I'll just comment on comments. Um, you have everyone writing in here, and this is legit stuff. Sorry, guys, you put your comments up. I can see it. Derek, our ex manager, is here. He's well said and very true. You're gonna see, okay. You're gonna see you're going to see artists talking and you're going to see non-artists talking. Okay, I don't know exactly, I don't know all the artists, but I know who's who for the most part. um, and you're going to see their comments, and you're going to see what the trend is. And so here you have Derek, our previous, I remember I told you about the importance of management. Here you go, right here. um, well said and very true. I know Derek knows Jami extremely well. That was the same reason I left the music entertainment business 18 years ago and ceased out of Paradise Band and its entertainment business. So yeah, Derek actually left the band because he said there's no money in the Hmong market. There is money, okay, but I'll tell you this. So any artist, look at the time that you're putting in to the Hmong music industry against what you're getting out. Okay. And now calculate it by the hour. It's like slave wages. If you calculate by the hours, it really is slave wages. Um, I have declined many offers by young artists for being their manager. I'm so glad that you have realized that and have spoken out to the younger generation. It's for fun only, but not for making a living. Okay, so here's again another older individual not living, and again, we established that your definition of comfortable living will be very different. Um, to survive and make a decent income in the music and entertainment business, we need at least a good 2 million population in the United States, not 500,000. So we're talking about numbers now, and it really is a number issue. And I think where like I've heard PD Rock say it, that we need to have record labels and whatnot. Um, kind of PD people have tried that. Not everyone will agree with that. I don't. I'm not against the idea, but I really question if it'll work because everything comes down to money. And think of it this way: like I said, if we were like BTS, 60 million population, that's a whole different economy. I will tell you that Hmong people are disproportionately talented. Like, we are a very talented community per our numbers. We have very talented people. Ligu Haidol Channing, then David in our interviews. If we had the population, none of us would need to work. Okay. I like to work. My job, I can't do music and videography for a living because it would kill me. But here you have Derek saying that here, Chimotu. You don't know Chimotu. That's still Livaku. I told my daughter to go for it. If all things fail, she can always learn how to sell makeup online, which is what a lot of artists do. Women artists, they end up doing, Yasmi and whatnot. They end up doing makeup, and he's being very, he's joking about it. And so here you have people saying, I think this goes for Asians in general. I mean, there's BTS, Steve Aoki, and maybe another handful of Asian musicians, but that's only like what 5% of the general entertainment population. We are tiny and minute part of the percentage, and even then, the big celebrities still have to do the other things to keep a revenue going. And so, where I think Jami is correct is Jami's saying, if you just think you're going to do music alone, that's not going to cut it in the Hmong music industry. That's why you see so many people starting their own makeup lines, and that's where I think Jamie is right. Jamie is like talking to us like we're her kids, which is brilliant, which is very very sincere. I mean, did she Pia? If Jamie didn't give a rat's butt about us, she would not share any of this information with us. Okay, and so I think that a new sapao or truth now, they'll read into her message and say, "There's Jamie's got something here," and I'll corroborate it in my sense. Like I said, like don't think that I can do Hmongoose because I'm betting to do Hmongoose full time. No, I do Hmongoose only because I'm doing something else on the side, and music is my passion. But if I do my passion on a daily basis, I will quit my passion right away because I love it. But there's more to me. When we talk about you do you, yeah, me is not just music. It has to be surgery. Also, I love surgery too much. So Jami is here, and we have Moa who makes probably has made more movies than anyone else. Dear aspiring artists and Hmong people in general, don't take Jami Hyung's word as a negative vibe to discourage you from pursuing your dream, but accept it as words of wisdom from someone who had been there and done that. In that way, you are at least aware of what is ahead of you. Most people are too polite to tell you, and you don't see. That's what I told you. I didn't see this. Most people are too polite to tell you that you don't have what it takes, or even if you do, big dreams require great sacrifices, and most of the time, despite the greatest efforts, you still fail. So, but that will high. I'm more saying it now. Well, he already said it. I didn't see this, but basically, yeah, Jumbo was really sticking her head to tell us the reality of it. And here's the thing: I see Channing. I see Channing talked about this. David talks about. Here's the thing about the industry that people don't. And I'll talk this from a Paradise point of view, and where I think Paradise backed off is this: to make it in this industry, you have to go. Oops, you absolutely 100% have to go all in the sense that if you do not go all in, you will not make it. If you go all in, then you have a chance to make it. And where I think Channing them are right is that they see that no, if I don't go all in, that I have absolutely no chance. So I'm gonna go all in. But where Jami is right is Jami saying, go all in, but plan B, have a plan B. And that's where I think Jami comes as new one opinion. She's saying, you know, "Của nên nhỉ, của hôm nay, thì của Hải nọ." Okay, that's where I think Jami's being very kind to everyone, that she's telling you the way she sees it, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, but she's putting it out there. And that's why I said we cannot burn Jami, because she's really going out of her way. But I agree with the young people. You got you all and you got much. And so to High, where I said that the truth is in the middle, the Channing's absolutely David, Khalil, they're absolutely right. You have to go all in. If you don't go all in, you're not going to make it. But there is some strength and experience, and she's just saying plan B. She's not saying don't do it. She's saying plan B. I put out that when a person cuts through, they'll cut through. Let me tell you my paradise story. That the reason why I say plan B is when Paradise was the biggest, when we were the strongest, what happened was I tell the story, but I don't know if everyone hears it. But in Paradise, it got a point where we were approached by Sony Asia. It's the Sony, it's the Asian branch of Sony, and they basically, I can't remember the money. I want to say 100,000. They said we'll give you 100,000 to go mainstream. Here's the thing: when we talk about mainstream, people cannot give a good definition of mainstream. Does it mean that the local news is reporting doing a report on you? Does it mean that you're signed by a label? Now, is it this mom and pop label, or is it like Sony Asia, or is it Sony America, or is it this huge record label? I haven't heard that. People just say we have a I think the Hmong community has a misunderstanding what mainstream really means, because even when Sony America threw that offer at Paradise, uh, at one point Paradise, we changed our name to go mainstream. To attempt to go mainstream, we changed our name to Autumn's Dignity. I actually threw out Hmongoose out there too at that time, by the way. But we chose Autumn's Dignity because it was kind of backwards. Or I guess ironic that autumn is the time when plants are kind of, leaves are falling off and dying, but there's a whole lot of beauty and dignity in that. But we got this offer thrown at us, and we ended up not doing it. Because it was okay. Well, what does mainstream mean? It means, first off, they're not giving you $100,000. Okay, they're loaning you $100,000 to make an album. And here we're seeing, we're like, no, we've got like 6 albums. No, thank you. But we have to now make this mainstream American album, and we have to go to a big label. We have to drive around and promote it. And so when you look at it, it's like, okay, this money is used to make an album. If we were just to split the money, it'd be like, I don't know, let's say $10,000, $15,000 each. Like, no, I make way more than that with my day job. And then you want me to get in a van and drive around across the country playing music at potentially bars, opening for small to big acts. Nope, we're not going to do that. And so we turned down mainstream media, basically a mainstream offer. And so it varies quite a bit what you mean by mainstream. And for us, no, it just wasn't worth it, because but just because you get an offer does not mean you've actually made it. And so that's where Jimmy says, where Moa here says that, yeah, that doesn't mean that you made it. It just means. And so he says, take Jimmy's advice and have a plan B. Vincent Yang is here, and he's sharing his sincere opinion. Understandable, but beg to differ. I think. Sorry, Vincent, I can't remember what your proper artist name is. You can't compare the famous singers from back then to Hmong singers now. Social media has made it 100 times easier to monetize. Yes, but so let me share you a little bit more information. Is getting way too long. This is like watching the Titanic now. But let me share you a little bit more information about the devil in the details, in the sense that when we talk about Hmong music, we have to really talk about Hmong music. When we talk about mainstream music, we have to really talk about mainstream music. As it is right now, Magic Hang, thank you. Magic Hang, yes. Um, thank you for verifying. But when we talk about Hmong music, we have to talk apple to apple and orange to orange. Don't talk apples to orange because it won't make sense. So this is what I mean. When we write music, we have to understand that bây giờ có một món nền đàn that get famous like Dang 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 Tao's the biggest song this year, hands down, is Linh Mун Đại Xia. Okay. Um, a Hmong song written for the Hmong community will absolutely fail in the mainstream community, bar none. Okay. Um, a Hmong artist that writes an English song for the mainstream community, that's a whole different world. But I can tell you that for the most part, when the simple pattern is this: when a Hmong artist writes a song in English, its chances of becoming popular in the Hmong community is slim, pretty slim. Not impossible, but pretty slim. Um, because the universal language for Hmong people is Hmong. I mean, it's great for Hmong, but Hmong Thai, Hmong Blanc, they'll never care. They don't know what that's about. And so that's the dilemma. Can you become popular and cross over as a Hmong artist into the mainstream media? I would say yes, possible. Chances of that, though, possible, but extremely rare. And so we have to begin to talk apples and oranges to um, uh, apples to apples and oranges to oranges, because you can't write Hmong music, get popular in the Hmong community, and transition, not without becoming artists. Like let's say Kalia, right? Kalia does a little bit of both, but Kalia's English songs, they do not hit like her Hmong songs. That's just the way it is in the Hmong community, and a lot of her touring is predominantly in the Hmong community. And PD Rock said it very clearly the other night. If you watch uh, his his interview with all that talk, he says it very clearly. He says when a Hmong artist goes in is hired by an American artist, that Hmong artist must draw a crowd. That's the thing. And so if you're a Hmong artist and an American promoter reaches out and says, "Hey, you come," but the then that means okay, you're not going to make it. And that's the dilemma we're in, and that's where people are saying we're at the crossroads. Where are we? And that's where it gets interesting. Um, some people are proposing that we need a label, we need a talent agency. Kind of. I think the devil's in the details. I'm not going to talk about it here. I think if I had a conversation with Trey and PD Rock and we talked about it live in person, then we could kind of, I guess we could talk and we could share ideas. Um, uh, but it's really hard. Kenny says, I might disagree a little bit on that notion. Yeah, it's controversial. We witnessed open government style magic, correct. But that is a rarity. That is super, super rare. Even BTS, if you look at BTS, I think BTS is successful because of the army, BTS army. Like if you go to if you just walk to a random white person and ask them about BTS, they do not know nothing about BTS. I think BTS warrants it. But and you've seen BTS make comments about it, and I think BTS, they kind of understand that shoot, we're more popular than a lot of these American artists. Our concerts are we outsell like almost every American concert out there at this point. But the Americans don't want anything to do with BTS. That's the problem. But BTS is backed by, again, 60 million people. Hmong people are disproportionately talented. There's a lot of talent in our community, but for a small community, let's say 400,000 in the U.S., we're disproportionately talented, and we do a lot. Like a lot of like the like like the Lao community, I think they struggle to do what we do. If you just look at Sabai D Fest, I mean, there's so much Hmong backing behind Sabai D Fest. I think Hmong show to Sabai D Fest. I think your name is the Sabai D Fest. I think that we're going to see more Hmong people there than Blah, in my opinion. That's my guess. But that being said, yeah, our community is small. Um, I think I've put everything out there that I can think of at this point. It is 3 o'clock in Minnesota, 4 o'clock on the East Coast. Thank you for joining me tonight. At the end of the story, let's look at some comments before we go. Since you guys were here, I don't want to ignore comments. I think Kalia wrote one that was quite lengthy earlier. Um, um, Jesus says, should a full live band who plays raw live music be paid more at a show or party compared to a single artist with no instruments? It depends on how, Jesus, I think, like Hossein, you're talking about Hossein. I think it depends. Because I'll be honest, a live band, it costs a lot more to get them to play. In the sense that you need way more equipment to mic up a band. You need a way longer sound check. Whereas those other artists, they just pop in their CD or transfer their sound wave MP3 file and they're ready to go. Um, that's where I think it's really interesting. That's where I had an interesting conversation with Trey one night. In that where I think I kind of mentioned it. We the 90s and 80s saw the transition away from live instruments into the current phase where a lot of artists play music, but they can't really play music in the sense that they can't play their own music live. They have to play it on tracks because they either bought the tracks or they had someone else make the tracks, and then so they're stuck. Whereas a live band can pivot and shift and do anything. Rap, yes. Tagging people, yes. Let's keep on going. Ken, yes, thank you for being here with me, Ken. Go to sleep. Will Hmong concert change again? By the way, the reason I'm asking is because it's also time for Hmong concerts to change. Hmong concerts will change. I'll tell you that. Um, I think that eventually bands are going to come back. We're already seeing that. We're seeing Deng Tao playing with live music, and I think at some point Hmong people will notice. Oh snap! There's a lot of interesting things that a live band can do. Um, you can meet in the middle too, like Deng. You can have like I think David would love to for a live band to play behind him. Yeah, live music will always destroy a track because live music breathes. A track has energy, but it will not breathe. Live music will breathe with the audience. It'll meld in that a track will not be able to. Better explained once you see it. Uh, we will. Gee, will see. Somewhere with Hmong music. There's always money there. Yeah, there's money there, but not a whole lot. But I'll give you my closing statements. Okay, where I think you guys assess what I'm about to tell you at the very end, and you can say blatantly disagree or agree. Truth. Um, Thing Ho says Hmong music always got money to be made. Um, Kenny says I really want Ty Sounders' view on this. I do too, actually. Um, if there was money, Ty would not be walking away. I'll tell you that much. No artist would walk away. Okay, that's the reality of this. And again, like I said, I'm doing this because not enough artists are chiming in. A lot of people are just saying, "Well, so I don't know. I don't know what you know." When someone says something, the fortunate thing is that you know what they say, but you can misunderstand it. But when someone is silent, you have no interpretation, and that's the bad thing about silence. That you don't know what they think. And like I said, I just couldn't morally sit here and say, "Oh yeah, let's throw Jemmy underneath the bus and not defend her." And yeah, Jemmy, you're irrelevant. No, she's very relevant. Um, yeah, yesterday, everything you're saying, her comment was coming from a good place. I agree. Um, Replying to Kenny, Ty Sounders Corner, yes. Thing says, Hmong music always got money. I think that's like the fifth time he said that. Um, Vincent's artist name is Magic Hang. Let's see here. Tiger Bite, that's her opinion. She did come up in a time where there's very hard to make money. Nowadays, with many social media, music platforms, artists can advertise themselves and cater to their fans. I agree. But is the question where that's controversial is that viable enough to live off that? And depending, like I said, depending on where you are in life. God knows who's the biggest hit. I agree. Extremely fast. Unfortunate circumstance, which I'm not going to talk about. I must disagree. Yeah, we talked about that. Replying to Kenny Lee Kennedy, yeah, but we're not Korean, we're Hmong. Yep, that's the reality. Kenny Lee, agree. Love it. Keep on coming. Dua says, yes, sir, I'll reach out to you. Kenny, live music briefs. It does, Kenny. You know it. You play live music. Once you play live music, you're never going back unless you do like EDM. Still waiting for Sounders Paradise collaboration. That'll never happen. I'm not even in Paradise. I won't speak as to why that will never happen. Bring Thai Pong in and talk. Yeah, yeah, but here's the thing where I'm a little bit different. I'm not afraid to talk my mind. Um, I'm not directly involved in music. I have no vested interest in. Okay, here you go. Saying, I'll be very honest with you. Am I still alive? Yes, yes, I'm still alive. Believe it or not. So if you're still listening here, you're gonna see it here. I'll tell you. Um, I'm not afraid to speak my mind. Some people don't like that, but one thing I'll be honest with you is I'll always be sincere. I'm not going to BS you when I'm wrong. Then I expect people to point me out and say, "Hey, you're absolutely wrong here. And let me tell you why." But if you point me out and you don't tell me why I'm wrong, then I can't pay attention to you, or I can't take you seriously. Because again, this whole entire post here is about clarity, and clarity requires discussion. A lot of people either won't put in the time to discuss, um, or just won't put them out there. Like here, this is what's going to happen. Some people will come up. Some people will come up and they'll speak ultra polite. They'll just want to be the good guy or good girl. They will not tell it the way it is because they're not going to make themselves vulnerable. I would like for Time Pong to come talk about this, but are they going to talk at the level I'm talking at, where I'm like, okay, let's rant, let's show the details. And people might not want to talk about the details, which is fine. But that's why I'm doing this, because I'm not hearing people talk about the details, um, which in my opinion is really important. Um, so saying thank you here. Okay, this is what I think. This is my closing statement to all this. This is my opinion. This is where I stand on this music issue. I'm saying it. I'm not giving you the nuts and bolts of it, but I'm saying it. And this is from my experience. And this is why I created Mongoose. So if you support Mongoose, share this. And this is my statement. If you're the 30, 40 of you that are still watching, so check this out. So my experience, the reason why I created Mongoose is because number one, I think we need a platform to share it. A lot of people are already doing that, but we have different expertise. Like all that talk, I think they focus a little bit more on dating, but they're not musician and specific artists in that regard. So that's why I couldn't leave it the way it was, because you need experience to talk to this issue. You got explain the underlying issue. That's why I did this huge talk about history, to explain that, okay, there's a history of how the music. There's more than that. We could go with the right person sitting with me. We can go on for hours. And so that you guys have a very clear understanding of the progression of Hmong music. I don't know if anyone's. Well, I don't know if how many people are analytical the way I am. Um, but that being said, this is how I see it. So I lived in Fresno for a point of time. What I'm getting at, this is why I did Mongoose. This is why I'm doing this. Um, at a point, I lived in Fresno. Fresno is extremely conservative. At that time, when I moved away, I moved to Berkeley. If you know where Berkeley is San Francisco. Berkeley is UC Berkeley, Cal. It's one of the most liberal places in in California. And I went from conservative Fresno to liberal, open-minded, maybe too open-minded Berkeley. And this is one of the observations that I made. Um, at the time, there was not internet was not like it is now. But that being said, in Fresno, you had like only certain X amount of news outlets. You had the Fresno Bee, you had your whatever 5, 6, 7 TV stations, and that's all the news you had. Anything that was relevant, that's how you knew about what was going on about certain issues. Well, what I noticed is that when I lived in Berkeley, yeah, they had all the same major channels, NBC, CBS, Fox, but they had their own community newspapers. And there wasn't internet at the time, those community newspapers. And you could get these newspapers. You got like the whatever the San Francisco Chronicle sitting next to it. There was like 4 other newspapers. And what I found that was amazing was that they would report on the same stories. But especially in stories that happened in Berkeley, they were reported sometimes vastly different, because you had very liberal, maybe borderline not accurate newspapers too. But they would report on the same incident, but vastly different because this community newspaper would actually go and interview that person and get a whole different story. And where I think it's important is that Hmong people must have their own platform for discussion and voicing their issues and concerns. Why is this important? It's important because Kenya, the Bay Hmong Hai Lo Meka, Le Chi Chua Da Dao, E Le Chi Chua Da Dao, they're all Le Chi Chua K. It's not relevant to them, but it's very relevant to us. And it's very dear and important to us. And that's why Hmongoose is so important for me. If I did not come and talk about this issue, probably no one would have talked about it. It would have just disappeared and gone away. And so where it's really important is that we have to create our own world. We have to create our own little true community. But we have to understand that, in my opinion, we have to define our own terms to that community. I I tell you the story about Paradise and Sony America and that offer they gave us. Quite frankly, we didn't want to play on their terms. We didn't like that. We didn't like the terms, and so we backed away. And so, yeah, we want to go mainstream, but you might be incredibly unhappy when you go mainstream. You have to realize that. You may lose your identity. BTS saw that. BTS saw that. They're not accepting us. They're not treating us the same as like One Direction. They're treating us a little bit different. We can see that. I think BTS originally wanted to break into Hmong, wanted to break into a mainstream American, so they can say, "Yeah, we made it. We're the first group to make it." Yeah, Gangnam Style made it, but Gangnam Style was kind of like a one-off. I mean, that's why you only saw Gangnam Style. No, none of Psy's other songs made it. BTS made it through, but I don't think BTS people didn't mainstream America did not view BTS the way BTS Army viewed BTS, and that's what they may have wanted, and that's where the discretion is. And so I think Bae Mona, here's my position on Hmong music. Sorry, this is where you guys assess me, and you guys can give me feedback and say, "Long, stupidest idea ever." No, let's be Hmong on our own term. We really believe that Hmong people should be Hmong people. Okay, let Hmong people define Hmong people. Define your own success. And that's where I say Jami is correct, and absolutely David Yang and Channing is all right. You define what is successful. You know, other people's success does not limit your own personal success, and that's what's most important. Why do we have to be mainstream? We don't have to be mainstream. Mainstream doesn't necessarily represent who we are. We may have to diminish who we are to fit mainstream's mold. Mainstream is extremely cutthroat. Like almost idea. If Channing wants to be R&B, but there's R&B everywhere, but R&B dua, are they going to accept a Hmong person doing R&B? Well, you better start fitting the mode of Itumika do that. Okay, like for example, Jin the rapper. Like Jin the rapper. He excellent. He was killing everyone. You remember BET, Jin the rapper, he killed all those rappers. No, he's not accepted. He really wasn't, whether you like it or not. Kind of was by some people, but as a whole, no. And that was because he was Asian. He didn't fit the mold of an Asian. I'm yeah, they were getting into Asian American studies here. But my here's my thing. We can be happy as a Hmong community without going mainstream. We can absolutely do that. We can create our own internal community. We don't need to do this. We shouldn't define our success necessarily by mainstream, whether you make it mainstream. Yeah, that's great. You make it mainstream. But let's be radical, more radical. Let's not fall into let's not categorize ourselves as, okay, go, you're most successful if you're mainstream. No, you can be successful as a Hmong person, and you can be successful as a Hmong person without having to go full time. You can still have a huge impact on your Hmong community and even the community outside of you without doing that. And so I think where it would benefit our community the most is, let's not draw our lines. Let's blur all. That's what Hmongoose is about, by the way. Hmongoose is kind of this animal that runs around, does whatever it wants, eats birds, eats snakes, bad birds, dies, does bad things, good things. That's what Hmongoose does. That's why I love that. I love the name Hmongoose. I do whatever I want. If I want to quit, I'll quit. If I don't quit, I won't quit. But that's the beauty of and so that's my That's the way I see Hmong music. I don't draw any lines. I want Hmong music to succeed on all fronts, every single front. If you go mainstream, then let's push this guy up front. Like PD said other night at all the stuff you listen to PD. PD said we need Hmong people to support Hmong people, because if Kalia goes out there, let's all show up for Kalia. And that's how Hmong people you'll thrust Hmong people forward, because you initially will need that thrust forward for people to say, oh, Kalia, there's something about Kalia. You have to get that initial attention. But like I said, I don't want Hmong people to feel devalued because they're not full time, I guess. And so let's create our own culture. Let's make our own rules. Let Hmong people make their own rules. I think that's where it's most important. Let's look at some of these comments here. I'm always a big supporter of Hmong music. Seen almost every artist there, except for a few artists. Much respect to you. Keep the live streams coming. Your live stream discussion about Jami controversial parts very well said, coming from you, and you're doing a great job. Thank you. Slowly take our time. I agree. I see why we last talked. You said you always stay in the Hmong music. Yep, I always stay in the Hmong. I will never leave. I will never go mainstream, because it'll compromise who I am. For other people, if it doesn't compromise who you are, then feel free to leave. I agree. Creating a platform, being Hmong and representation, let Hmong be Hmong. I agree. Don't be afraid to say there's nothing wrong. Hmong people saying this is Hmong, this is how we like it, and this is how we do our thing. It's good to Hmong Hai. Yeah, that's how it is. Okay. If it's good, yeah, call mainstream or but there's a lot of bad things that you guys don't know about that mainstream does. Okay. There's a lot of bad things in mainstream music. That's a whole another story for another day. I'm glad Jami wrote what she wrote. As for me, I will do my part to be part of the solution instead of reacting emotionally at her comments. I think it's great to react emotionally, but react to the truth. Okay, that's what we want. We want the truth. Don't react to one aspect of the truth. I didn't show you the truth, by the way. I showed you what was shown me based on what I saw. There's more to it. You want the truth, talk to Jami. You want the truth, talk to all parties involved. But I will tell you that Jami just agreed with Trisha at the end of the day. She supported Trisha, and then people read her comment, took it out of context, and blew it out of proportion. But that happens. That's social media. What can you say? But then you can't assess the truth until you see it for what it is. And it's okay to say, oh, dang, I overreacted. I'm sorry, my bad. But that's where we have to get to. But that being said, you've seen my opinion about Hmong music now, where I stand, why I do what I do. I'm 100%. I like transparency. When there isn't transparency, that doesn't work for me. But I'm being as transparent as I can. The way I am now, that's how I am in person. Except I'm incredibly introverted until I have to talk. So that being said, blessings to you. I don't know why there's still 33 people here. It's 1:30 in California, and it is way too late everywhere else. So have a great evening. It's always a pleasure to go live with you. I will never go live on a regular basis. I'll go live on a random basis. That way it keeps it interesting. But I will say, for those who are still here, that this coming next week from Hmongoose, it's going to be really interesting, because Hmongoose will now start to talk about emerging artists that are not popular yet, or not necessarily super popular yet. So I've got it written down somewhere. Okay, so this is what I have coming up in Hmongoose. If you're interested in see what Hmongoose is doing, I believe on October 25th, this might change. I will be interviewing Gao Nu, or Nu from the East Coast, who's also involved with Passport CED, if you know what that is. But I will be interviewing her on October 25th. You've seen John talking. I will be interviewing John, the producer and artist, on November 3rd. I will be interviewing Blue Devil on November 6th. I will be also interviewing the upcoming artist Kong Vu on October, I think, 27th. And then I have Akinu Her on November 13th, all in preparation for New Year here. Happy New Year, everyone, if you're celebrating in your town. But from what I see, for me, New Year begins in Sacramento and Fresno because that's where I live. And then I'll be interviewing the Generation Boys, Martin Hang and Peter, in the middle of November, and then maybe some more artists too. So blessings to you. Thank you for listening to this beautiful talk. I enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure talking to you. If you hated it, let me know. But subscribe. If you loved it, let me know. Subscribe. But blessings to you. Thank you for joining me tonight. Have a great night. And we will see you in another discussion.